this evening I'm going to talk about professional collaboration with purpose. And one of the questions that was raised earlier today is really pertinent because someone said, we really don't give teachers enough time to collaborate, yet we all believe collaboration is important. So the question then was, should we be investing more money in order to provide time for teachers to collaborate? And my answer to that question would be yes, if the collaboration is purposeful. So let me kind of describe my vision of what this is. This is the work that will be in a new book that will be out later this fall called Professional Collaboration with Purpose, Teacher Leading and Learning for Equitable and Excellent Schools. And what the vision here is moving away from meaningless meetings to those in which teachers are engaging in deep learning. I'm sure all of us can remember meetings which were unproductive, in which personality conflicts emerged, or in which we felt our time was wasted. How many of you have been teachers in the educational system? How many of you can say that you really had a deep professional learning collaboration in the course of your time as teachers? Not less than half. So what we found through hundreds and hundreds of hours, literally in the last 5 years, I want to say we've collected about 400 hours of data watching teacher meetings at different grade levels. And through this research, we've really come to find how meaningful collaboration can be in teachers' lives, as well as how damaging it can be in teachers' professional lives if their time is wasted. We know in the U.S., if teachers are lucky, they might have an hour once a week to work together with their colleagues. In some schools, they might have more. In other schools, none at all. There are other countries that have much more teacher collaboration time. And in studies that have been done in those countries, even those teachers feel like they have inadequate time to collaborate. So this tells me that teachers believe that collaboration can be a very powerful force in their lives. However, it's often not executed purposefully, particularly when it's administratively controlled. Andy Hargraves calls this contrived collegiality. We see a lot of contrived collegiality, and they're truly painful meetings for teachers as they're looking at their watches, wondering if they can go do something else that would be more beneficial for their time. So we need to move away from these very constrained meetings, but yet move to ones that are purposeful and have agendas that teachers can help inform and shape and be used in ways that meet their own needs as adult learners, as well as their own student needs as deep learners as well. So what are the kind of concepts of professional collaboration that we want to suggest here? First is the use of a wide range of data. I talked about this earlier. We cannot imagine that deep professional learning is going to happen around standardized achievement data. Teachers need to be bringing valuable student work to the table, for example, in having collaborative conversations. That can be a starting point for a really rich professional dialogue. And even a conversation around what do we believe our students know and should be able to do? How do we move them forward? These will promote deep learning much more than kind of a set of numeric data. And then there's the piece about having genuine respect for educators as professionals. I've been trying to talk about this multiple times today. I really think this is incredibly important. It's important that leaders model this respect as well as policymakers, because oftentimes we will promote the idea that we respect teachers as professionals and yet implement policies that come in a very top-down fashion that teachers have very little choices about. And so we have to think about the ways in which policymaking represents the idea that we really value teachers' work. And we heard some of those examples in some countries sharing their stories today. Part of that also becomes with developing a repertoire for helping teachers work through personal conflicts. Not all teachers respect each other's expertise, and I'm sure we can imagine we've worked in environments where we may not have respected all of our colleagues as well. Yet we may work on a team together. How do we move forward? One of the things that we found is having teachers work on some very small piece of joint planning could be a starting point for a conversation. They may not get to the point where they're fully sharing and dialoguing with each other about all manners, but at least there could be a starting point for some building of respect. And then there's a piece about broad thinking about learning. This goes along with valuing multiple forms of data, but it's really important that we think big about what we want our students to learn. And this goes beyond the kind of academic achievement and speaks to some of the things we heard about earlier with socio-emotional learning, being engaged in school, wanting to come to school. I remember early on in one of my children's educational careers, my daughter was in kindergarten and she didn't want to go to school. And I generally stayed out of their education, but that particular time I went and I talked to the principal. I said, I need your help. I need my daughter to want to come to school. I need my child to want to enjoy learning. I need your help in helping make this an environment that will foster their interest in learning. And that's what we want for all of our kids. We want them to be drawn to school. We want them to feel like school is a place that's going to help them get to where they want to go and help them grow as individuals. We want those to be the kinds of environments for teachers too. We've all met teachers that feel disengaged from the craft because they don't feel valued. They feel like they're asked to do things that don't fit with what their goals are for students, we need to find a way to have nurturing environments for teachers as well. And we want these collaborative spaces to be places of support for shifting policies. So this is the place, this collaborative space is where teachers are working through all the shifting policies and changes that are happening in the world that we're all encountering in all of our locales right now. This needs to be a place of support where they can think about, how do I mediate these policies? How can I best meet my students' need in the context of these policies? This collaborative space can be an important, powerful space for that kind of work. The one thing that's also become abundantly clear to us is collaboration is an emotional enterprise. Teaching it is an emotional enterprise. We want teachers to be able to be part of teams that are joyful, inspirational, where they feel valued. This is not every collaborative environment that we see out there. And yet we know that moods are infectious. And so if you have teachers who are not exhibiting those kinds of feelings, those kinds of things can transfer among the team, can be really problematic for teachers' professional growth. And so we want to think about, how can we move our collaborative settings to be more like, more inspirational, more joyful, more productive and meaningful, rather than acrimonious, draining, distressing. One of the things that is particularly draining for teachers in collaboration is the fact that there isn't enough time often to accomplish the goals that leaders or maybe even they themselves have set out for them. And so we need to really think realistically about what we think professional collaboration can do, because we're all very supportive of the idea, generally speaking, but we often have overly ambitious ideas for what can be accomplished in a short time frame. And so we really need to think hard about that. Are these expectations reasonable? And is that the site for all forms of professional growth? It can be a really important site for all the reasons I've described. But just like we recognize that collaborative learning is only one part of teaching a student to learn a new mastery of a set of knowledge, it's only one space in which teachers are going to engage in professional development. So we need to think hard about what are the other ways in which we can meaningfully build teacher capacity, both outside the teacher collaboration space as well as within it. And finally, I think it's important to be clear that collaboration can be really an important space for developing coherence around student learning, around adult learning, but what I don't mean is conformity. Some people define collaboration as everybody's doing the same thing on the same day. So we're going to get together to plan our lessons so that we're both on the same page tomorrow and we can then get together the following week and discuss it. That's not the intent. We've observed many examples of deep learning among teachers, even teachers teaching different subject areas who are having a deep dialogue about what it means to engage students. That's what we're hoping for, and engage students in a school around a common set of values and so on. That's the kind of coherence we're looking for. We're not looking for everybody on the same page in the same day. But often it's important for people to have a dialogue about that. How do we define collaboration here? When teachers come to the table, how are we each defining collaboration? What are we hoping our goals will be? How will we involve new teachers? One of the things that's been particularly a struggle for teachers is that teams evolve. And so they might have had a wonderful year or two with a particular group, and then someone leaves, or the principal decides maybe staffing changes are required. And to build up those relationships takes a lot of time. And so we also really need to be mindful about, how do we structure professional collaboration in settings where we know there's quite a bit of turnover of teachers? What does that look like? How do we bring new teachers on board and enculturate them into a warm and embracing culture? So with these ideas, I'm optimistic that hopefully as we shift our thinking around what teacher collaboration can do for us and move it towards a set of elements acknowledging some of these principles, that more teachers can experience rich learning environments for themselves as professionals as well as for their students. Thank you.